Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel to another episode of New State Mobile. Everybody knows that if you hit an enemy in the head, it does do more damage than when you hit him in the left foot. And we all know there are some different hitboxes at the enemies. That's why I will provide you today a guide how to calculate the exact amount of damage you're doing in specific body hit zones, and we can talk about some tactics if an enemy wears a level 3 equipment at the end of a game. So if you're curious how the damage is calculated, just stay tuned and watch this video until the end. Thank you guys for being here again, really appreciate it. If someone else is new here, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for free to my channel. And if you like this guide, please share it with your friends and your clan mates. It will definitely help you in the future. So let us start. First, we want to talk about some general things about it, some background knowledge. After that, we will jump to the body hit zones. So that's basically the hitboxes of a body in New State Mobile. After that, we will have a look which influence the vests and helmets to have on the damage output. And we will have a look at the different weapon classes. So we know SMGs or pistols are doing less damage than a sniper rifle or that as the AWM. And after that, we will do a damage calculation. So we will look at the raw numbers and see if it is similar to the game values. And at the end, I will give you some hints and some nice things to know. So let's get ahead and have a look at the general things. So first of all, a huge shout out to Hooligan. I'm not sure if he is the guy who did all the calculations in behind, but thank you to the community. Whoever did do that, this guide is insane, and this will only be the first video of a series in the future. So these values are based on game files, not on guesses. So you can be secure that these values are correct. And if we have a look at the values, there are some similarities to PUBG PC or console version. You might notice that. And when we do later on the calculation, we are doing this based on a distance of 5 meters because there is a bullet drop and the bullet and the damage drop happening over distance. You might have noticed that in the past when you try to kill an enemy with an AKM and you need several more bullets than when you are close to him. So that is just the precaution. So now let us start with the hitboxes, or so far called body hit zones. And in this picture you can see how it is behaving on New State Mobile. There are different hit zones, starting at the head for sure, where we are taking, or we are causing as a general value 100% of damage. On the throat, right under the head, we are only causing 75% of damage, while we are taking 100% of damage when we get hit in the shoulders. Lower than the shoulders, there's the upper chest, where we are taking 110% damage, while we are taking at the main chest 100% of damage. A little bit lower, we can see with 95%, that is the so-called navel zone with 95% of damage, and a little bit lower, that is just the lower chest. Beside that, for sure, we have the upper arm, the lower arm, and our hands with less damage, as well as the upper leg, lower leg, and our foots with only 30% damage, which we can apply to the enemy. The dark positions, which are here covered, main chest and the head, these are the zones of your body where you can apply the helmet or either the vest. So that is really important when we jump later on to the damage calculation. And yeah, as these are the different body hit zones, they have a direct influence of the damage you can apply to the enemy. And yeah, we will see later on that there are some nice combinations that maybe it is not the best idea to hit with an SMG to the novel zone when the enemy is wearing a level 3 vest. So let's go to the next place, and that is now the values from vests and helmets. So how do they decrease the damage? We are starting with the helmets, as this is quite easy. They have a different damage reduction. We can see level 1, 2 and level 3 helmets starting with 30% and damage reduction. Level 2 gives you 40% damage reduction, and the level 3 helmet gives you 55% damage reduction. So if you would do 1 damage with a 55% damage reduction, you would only do 0.45 damage. We will come back to that later on when we have a look at the calculation. Now things get a little bit tricky. If we have a look at the police vest and the military vest, they are similar to most of the weapons. If we have a look at 5.56mm here, starting with level 1, we can see the standard damage reduction is 30%, and these vests do provide 5% additional damage reduction to 5.56mm ammo. Same for the level 2 vest, which is reducing for all the weapons 0.4, beside the 5.56mm where it is 0.45. And for the level 3 vest, the basic damage reduction is 55%, while it is for the 5.56mm ammo 60%. So that is already a nice thing to know. And if I shortly have a look at the crossbow is a little bit special here. I think this was the same. The Dyneema vest is reducing the damage at the crossbow a little bit further. And now things get even more tricky. If we have a look at the Dyneema vest, which we can see here, there's a damage reduction happening as well. We don't have a level 1 Dyneema vest, that's why we have only the level 2 and the level 3 here. And starting off with the 5.56mm, that is the value for bolts as well, if I'm correct. So level 2 and 3 are reducing the damage here 50 and 70%. So they are super effective against the 5.56mm guns. We can't predict it 100%, but we can maybe see it at the meta if it is better to use a Dyneema vest or a military vest, police vest. 7.62mm, we can see there directly a 35 and a 45% damage reduction. For the 9mm, 0.45 ACAP and 5.7mm ammo, it is 45% and 65%. While there are some crazy things happening for the Magnum, that is the ammo for the AWM, and the person who has provided me the list, they have reported there already, maybe that is a bug because these values look a little bit crazy, as you can achieve a 65% damage reduction for an AWM shot while you're wearing a level 3 Dyneema vest, which is quite crazy. And we have for the pump gun or for the shotgun ammo 12 gauge, we have 40 and 55% damage reduction. So these are the basic values for your helmet and your vests. They have for sure a direct influence of the damage you can do. And I think as next we should have a look at the different weapon classes, because now things are getting really complicated. Not every weapon class is doing the same amount of damage. There are so-called weapon class multipliers, and we are starting off with the AR and can see again the same body zones, but here this is an additional factor. So we are doing 210%, so that's 2.1 times the damage if you hit the opponent in the head. These numbers are not calculated with a helmet. These are the raw numbers. The total calculation will happen after this magic. For example, if we hit then the throat, we will cause 210% damage, 100% in the shoulders, 90% in the upper arms, and yeah, 90% still in the foot. If we have a look at DMR, the head is 235% damage, as well as the throat. So this is definitely a little bit better than the AR even. And if we have a look at the sniper rifle, we are starting with 250%. So 2.5 times the damage if you hit the head instead of, for example, the foot where it is 0.95, so even a little bit less than 1. And if we have a look now at the other weapon classes, for example, here starting with an SMG, headshot would be 180%, so times 1.8. For the LMG, it's 2.3, and for the SG, that is the shotgun, if you calculated that, I think 9 of the 12 projectiles will hit the enemy's head, it's 150%. Okay, so these are the raw values for that, and just to fulfill it, we for sure have the handgun here with 200% headshot and throat damage, while the rest is 100, and we have the crossbow with the insane 230% headshot damage. If you now look at the complete picture of all the weapon class multipliers, we can definitely see that the sniper rifle is on the lead with the most damage when you hit the enemy in his head, and the other ones are still nice to know that you, for sure, we all know that you are doing more damage for certain regions. And if we think back at the point for an SMG, hey, we are still doing 130% of damage in the legs. Will that be important? It will be important later on, and I will come back to that point right at the end of this video for a nice tactic how and where to shoot with an SMG. So let's have a look now at a damage calculation, and we will do our damage calculation in a later example with an M7. But first, how is damage calculated? Every weapon has a base damage. That is the raw output of a weapon. That is a fixed value. This needs to be multiplied with the body zone multiplier, which we have had a look at early stage of this video, and it is multiplied with the weapon class multiplier, which we just have seen, and it is multiplied by the helmet and vest multiplier, which is quite easy to calculate. For example, if you have a damage reduction of 70%, this factor will be 0.3, as there are only 30% of damage left. And it will be multiplied by a distance multiplier. We all know if you shoot an enemy on a longer distance, you are causing less damage. This value is 1, so you are doing 100% of damage if you hit the enemy in a distance of 5 meters. And that will be the distance for our example here. So if we have a look at the M70 base damage is 41, the body zone multiplier for a headshot will be 1, and we have the AR, the weapon class multiplier here, which is 210%, so we will times 1, and we have a 55% damage reduction of the level 3 helmet, which the factor will be 0.45, and as we are in a 5 meter distance, the distance multiplier will be still 1 to not decrease the further damage. If we calculate it all together, we are coming to a damage here of 38.7 in a single bullet headshot with an M7 out of 5 meters against the level 3 helmet. And that is quite insane. So you're not doing that much damage against a full equipped enemy, but luckily you're not single tapping with your M7. You are either bursting or full auto shooting, and you will definitely cause some further damage. And yeah, if we now have a look at an in-game footage which I have recorded on the training ground, we can especially see that for sure with rounded values that we are doing the 38.7 damage with the first hit, and with the second hit for sure the double up value. So that is how the damage calculations do work at New State Mobile. And isn't that insane that you now know how to do it and how to calculate it? For sure, over the distance they will drop the damage, but that is basically how it is working. Now some further hints. If we would look at the basic zone for the upper leg, which is 60%, and have a look again at the SMG damage, which was in the upper leg, if I'm correct, 130%. The upper leg is not covered by a vest, so it is really a crazy tactic to shoot the enemy if you have an SMG in the upper leg region, because there the damage is not reduced because you can't wear a vest there. So that is maybe a nice hint. And for sure another hint here is custom kits have a direct influence of these values. For example, the C1 custom kit of the M7 is giving us a little bit higher base damage, while the new SLR custom kit is changing it directly because you're after customizing using 5.56mm ammo. So hopefully that was not too much. If you have any questions about this thematic, just write it down in the comment section or jump over to our Discord where we can talk about this thematic. Hopefully this guide will help you to understand how the game is working, and if you look at the values, maybe find some tactics which which weapon you shoot at which region of your body, like with the SMG, to the upper legs where the enemies especially are wearing level 3 equipment. So thank you guys, and see you in one of the future videos about New State Mobile.